There is a certain kind of man who enters a room without effort, without noise, without performance, and yet somehow, he becomes the axis around which the entire space subtly turns. Not because he demands attention, not because he tries to charm anyone, but because he carries something almost no one else in the room has: peace with himself. Most people walk in broadcasting their insecurities. You can see it in the posture that tries too hard. You can hear it in the laugh that lasts a little too long. You can feel it in the eyes constantly scanning the room, searching for approval, validation, confirmation that they belong. But he is different. He is not performing a version of himself. He is not negotiating for acceptance. He is not altering his personality to fit the temperature of the environment. He moves as if the world cannot intrude on the center he has built within. And this, Carl Jung would say, is why he becomes magnetic, because the moment a man detaches his identity from the collective, he becomes something society rarely encounters: an individual. A person unshaken by perception, unbothered by judgment, untouched by pressure. A man whose worth does not rise or fall depending on who notices him. People sense this instantly. They can't name it, they can't articulate it, but they feel it. Presence rooted in itself. A stillness that exposes their restlessness. A calm that feels like gravity. This is the man who doesn't care. And that is exactly why he becomes unforgettable. There is a certain kind of man who seems to move through the world untouched by the invisible hands that push, pull, and shape everyone else. He walks into a room without adjusting himself, without rearranging his expression, without scanning for approval, and somehow, this absence of effort creates a presence stronger than anything he could have performed. He is not charming in the traditional sense. He is not loud, impressive, or theatrical. His aura comes from something far rarer. A man who is no longer negotiating his identity with the world. Most men don't realize they've been negotiating since childhood. They learned early on that the world rewards the soft mask, the agreeable mask, the carefully curated persona that attracts praise and avoids judgment. They learned to smile even when they felt nothing. They learned to speak a certain way to seem impressive. They learned to carry themselves as if they were always being watched. Their entire identity became a performance shaped around the expectations of others. Carl Jung wrote that the persona, the mask, exists for survival, but eventually becomes a prison. The more a man invests in his mask, the more he forgets the self behind it. Performance becomes identity. Approval becomes oxygen. Without realizing it, most men build their entire lives around avoiding disapproval. But the man who doesn't care has abandoned that entire structure. Not out of rebellion, not out of arrogance, but out of exhaustion, out of truth. There's always a moment, quiet, painful, often private, when a man realizes he has been living for other people's eyes. That moment collapses the persona. It shatters the illusion that approval gives safety. And in that collapse, something unexpected is born. Stillness. This man has already walked through the psychological fire most people spend their lives avoiding. He has felt the sting of being misunderstood and survived. He has felt the cold of being judged and stayed standing. He has experienced loss, rejection, silence, and discovered that none of it destroyed him. He no longer fears the things that shape the behavior of the average person. That is why he becomes grounded. That is why he becomes calm. That is why nothing seems to push or pull him off center. People sense something different in him. Most can't name it, but they feel it. He doesn't rush to fill silence, because silence doesn't threaten him. He doesn't over-explain himself because he isn't auditioning. He doesn't force eye contact because he has no agenda. He doesn't shrink or puff up because he isn't performing dominance or submission. He simply is. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of the self, the authentic, integrated core of a person. The man who doesn't care is not careless. He is self-contained. His center of gravity is internal. Nothing outside of him determines who he is or how he feels. Most men enter a room hoping to be liked. He enters wondering whether he likes the room. Most men react instantly to approval or rejection. He reacts only to what aligns with his values. Most men try to impress. He has nothing to sell. This is why his presence feels heavy, solid. A man who has confronted his shadow, the hidden fears, the buried anger, the suppressed desires becomes immune to manipulation. The world cannot guilt him, shame him, or pressure him, because the things society uses to control people no longer work on him. He has seen his own darkness and integrated it. He has acknowledged the uncomfortable truths about himself. He has accepted his flaws without collapsing under them. This inner honesty gives him a quiet authority that cannot be faked. He does not need to project superiority because he is no longer in competition with anyone. He does not chase belonging because he belongs to himself. He does not crave attention because his identity does not depend on being seen. People can feel this clarity. It makes them curious. It makes them uneasy. It makes them drawn to him in ways they cannot explain. He doesn't stand out because he performs. He stands out because he is real in a world addicted to roles. This is the unmoving center. This is the man who doesn't care. And this is why he becomes unforgettable. Attraction is not logical. It is not rational. It is not even intentional. Jung believed attraction is the psyche recognizing something it has lost, buried, or abandoned within itself. When you feel drawn to someone instantly, without knowing why, you are rarely responding to the person. You are responding to the part of you they awaken. And no one awakens this faster than the man who doesn't care. Most people move through the world with the same silent fear beating beneath their behavior, the fear of not being enough. They search for approval the way drowning men search for air. They speak too quickly, laugh too loudly, cling too tightly, perform too eagerly. Their presence feels heavy, not because they are bad people, but because their identity needs to be constantly confirmed by others. This is neediness, and neediness is the antithesis of attraction. Neediness doesn't mean wanting someone. Wanting is human. Needing someone to validate your worth is where attraction collapses. You can feel neediness before a man speaks. It shows up in the way he waits for your reaction to know how to feel. It shows up in how quickly he tries to prove himself. It shows up in the way he mirrors everything you say, hoping to be liked. He behaves not from authenticity, but from fear. Jung taught that neediness is the cry of a fragmented self. A man who does not know who he is will always need others to define him. And the moment you need someone to define you, you become psychologically heavy. You pull at them. You lean on them. You expect them to fix the emptiness you refuse to face. This is why the man who doesn't care feels like a completely different species. He is not leaning. He is not reaching. He is not waiting to be chosen. He stands in himself, not above others, not beneath them, but within himself. His presence feels open rather than suffocating. He gives you space, not pressure. And space is where attraction begins. Most people mistake this as aloofness, but Jung would say it is simply a man whose center of gravity is internal, not external. He does not require your reaction to feel stable. He does not rely on your attention to feel valuable. He does not cling to your presence to feel whole. When someone does not need anything from you, the unconscious interprets this as strength. Not dominance, not arrogance, strength. But here is the darker truth. You are not attracted to him. You are attracted to the parts of yourself that he reflects. This is where projection enters. Projection is the unconscious mind painting qualities onto someone who has not earned them. When the man who doesn't care stands before you with calm neutrality, your unconscious rapidly fills the emptiness with meaning. You see his calm and project the calm you lost. You see his independence and project the independence you crave. You see his self-possession and project the self-possession you abandoned. You see his restraint and project your own unlived discipline. He becomes the mirror you didn't know you were looking for. His silence becomes depth, not because he is deep, but because your unconscious fills the silence with everything you admire, but do not embody. His emotional steadiness becomes power, not because he is powerful, but because your psyche longs for that same steadiness. His grounded presence becomes mystery, not because he is mysterious, but because you cannot read him through your usual patterns. Jung believed that projection is the mind's attempt to reclaim lost pieces of the self. We project not because the other person is extraordinary, but because we have disowned something extraordinary within ourselves. That is why he becomes unforgettable. Not because he tries, but because he awakens something. His existence challenges you. His silence confronts you. His freedom unsettles you. He is not the fantasy. He's the trigger. A reminder of everything you could become if you stopped living through the eyes of others. Attraction toward the man who doesn't care is not romantic. It is psychological. It is the shadow reaching toward the self. It is the unconscious saying, "You used to be whole." You don't desire him. You desire the version of yourself you see through him. And that is why he pulls people in without lifting a finger. Society claims to admire strength, confidence, and independence. But that's a lie told to keep people obedient. Because the moment a man develops real inner independence, independence that cannot be manipulated, shamed, or controlled, becomes a threat to the fragile structure society depends on. And no one embodies this threat more clearly than the man who doesn't care. Not careless, not numb, but psychologically sovereign. Jung believed the collective fears the individual, who stands alone because he breaks the spell of conformity. A man who doesn't care dismantles the key mechanism that keeps society running, the constant fear of judgment. Most people behave not because they choose to, but because they are terrified of being disliked, terrified of humiliation, terrified of standing out for the wrong reasons. The man who doesn't care has severed himself from this fear. And that makes him unpredictable. 1. Society cannot shame him into obedience. Shame is society's favorite weapon. You can control an entire population simply by convincing them they must never appear foolish, never appear weak, never appear different. The threat of embarrassment is enough to keep most men silent, agreeable, and small. But the man who doesn't care is unmoved by shame. He doesn't panic when someone disapproves. He doesn't collapse when someone judges him. He doesn't shrink when he is misunderstood. He has already lived through those feelings, faced them directly, and survived. Jung wrote that what we fear externally is often the fear we refuse to confront internally. This man has confronted it. And because he no longer fears shame, society loses its strongest tool of control. People don't know what to do with a man who cannot be guilted or intimidated. So they label him arrogant, selfish, or aloof. These labels aren't truth, they're defense mechanisms. A man who cannot be controlled is always called dangerous by the people who rely on control. 2. He steps outside the status hierarchy. Every group, from families to corporations, runs on an invisible ranking system. Who is admired? Who is respected? Who gets attention? Who holds power? People spend enormous amounts of energy maintaining their place within these structures. But the man who doesn't care refuses to play. He doesn't chase status symbols. He doesn't measure himself against others. He doesn't compete for dominance or validation. And because he opts out, he breaks the illusion that status is meaningful. Hierarchy only works when people agree to it. When someone simply walks away, he exposes the entire system as optional. This terrifies those who built their identity on climbing ladders. They see his freedom as an insult to their struggle. Even worse, the moment he stops competing, people unconsciously elevate him. His indifference becomes compelling. His self-containment becomes a symbol of quiet superiority. And those who cling to status feel threatened by someone who rises without playing the game. 3. His authenticity exposes. They're masks. Most people live behind the persona, the socially acceptable mask. Jung said we create to survive the world's expectations. Some wear the pleasant mask, some wear the confident mask, some wear the productive mask. But the man who doesn't care is maskless. He speaks from himself. He moves from himself. He acts without checking the room first. His authenticity forces others to feel the weight of their own performance. Standing next to him, their persona feels flimsy. Their forced smiles feel artificial. Their social anxiety feels louder. People don't dislike him. They dislike the truth he exposes. He awakens the insecurity they thought they had buried. He shows them how much of their life is shaped by fear, not desire. He reminds them they have betrayed themselves for acceptance. This is why his presence is unsettling. He is a mirror the collective doesn't want to look into. Point 4. His freedom is contagious. This is the real reason society fears him. A man who doesn't care is living proof that another way of existing is possible, a life unchained from judgment, shame, and external validation. When people witness this freedom, something dangerous happens. They begin to question their own chains. If he can live without apologizing, why can't they? If he can be whole without approval, why can't they? If he can reject the system, why are they obeying it? One free man can unravel the entire structure, not by fighting it, but by showing it no longer has power over him. Society doesn't fear his indifference. It fears what his indifference inspires in others, because a man who doesn't care is not just independent, he is contagious. Most people think they are attracted to a person. Jung believed they are attracted to a missing part of themselves. This is why the man who doesn't care becomes magnetic in a way that feels unfair. He is not trying to be mysterious. He is not performing depth. He is not cultivating charisma. His magnetism comes from something far more unsettling. He reveals nothing. And the human psyche cannot stand an empty silhouette. Whenever someone gives you very little to interpret, your unconscious rushes to fill in the blanks. It paints them with qualities you desire, traits you lost, strengths you abandoned. The less he shows, the more powerful the projection becomes. This is why he becomes larger than life, because your unconscious builds a mythology around him. 1. His silence becomes depth. The average person talks too much, reveals too much, tries too hard to shape the impression they leave. But the man who doesn't care is comfortable with silence. He does not rush to fill space. He does not scramble to appear interesting. He lets silence breathe. This quietness creates tension, not because he is withholding, but because silence becomes a mirror. You begin projecting meaning onto it. He must be thinking deeply. He must be analyzing the room. He must have strong boundaries. He must be confident. But silence is not evidence. Your mind is. His silence becomes profound because you desperately want to believe you are encountering something rare. The truth is that you are encountering your own longing reflected back at you. 2. His emotional restraint becomes mystery. Most people reveal themselves quickly. They overshare their history, their fears, their dreams, their desires. They do this not out of bravery, but out of insecurity. They fear losing interest, so they expose themselves too soon. But the man who doesn't care reveals little. Not because he is hiding anything, but because he does not base intimacy on urgency. He does not chase closeness. He lets connection unfold naturally, without pressure or expectation. His restraint becomes the perfect vacuum for projection. You begin imagining hidden layers, secret thoughts, unspoken intentions. Your mind begins building narratives. He feels something but won't say it. He's holding back because he's deep. He must have a rich inner world. But these are inventions, stories created by your unconscious to fill the unknown. He is not mysterious. The mystery is what you project onto him. 3. his independence, becomes power. Most people attach their identity to other people's reactions. Their emotions rise and fall based on attention, approval, or rejection. They are externally regulated. They require reassurance to feel grounded. But the man who doesn't care is self-regulated. His mood is not determined by who texts him back. His self-worth is not shaped by who notices him. His confidence is not contingent on applause. He stands alone without collapsing. Your unconscious interprets this stability as power. Real power, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet kind that feels unshakable. You project discipline. You project maturity. You project intelligence. You project emotional mastery. But the truth is that you are recognizing a strength you abandoned in yourself long ago. His independence reminds you of your own potential. Point 4. You don't desire him. You desire the reflection of yourself. This is the heart of Jung's teaching on projection. The man who doesn't care becomes the symbolic container for your unlived self. He reflects the qualities you silenced: strength, calm, courage, dignity, boundaries, restraint. His presence awakens these dormant traits within you, and the awakening feels like attraction. But it isn't desire. It's recognition. You feel drawn to him because he mirrors the version of you that exists beneath fear, people-pleasing, and insecurity. He triggers the shadow, the part of you that holds your suppressed potential. He is not the fantasy. He is the catalyst. He becomes the stage on which your unconscious performs the self you wish you had the courage to become. This is why he lingers in your mind. This is why his presence feels heavy. This is why his attention feels powerful. This is why his absence feels symbolic. You are not longing for him. You are longing for yourself. He is the mirror you didn't know you were seeking. And mirrors are dangerous because they show you everything you've forgotten. Most men want the aura of the man who doesn't care. They want the calm, the gravity, the effortless presence that pulls people in without trying. But what they fail to understand is this: the man who doesn't care did not become this way by imitating behaviors. He didn't practice acting detached. He didn't rehearse silence. He didn't study confidence like a skill. He became who he is by losing something first: the need to be chosen. Jung believed every transformation begins with an inner death. A death of the persona. A death of the mask a man wears to survive. The expectations of the world. Every man carries this mask. Some call it charm. Some call it confidence. Some call it being good with people. But underneath those labels is the same fear. If I stop performing, I will stop mattering. To become the man who doesn't care, a man must confront that fear directly. 1. Stop performing for approval. This is the first step and the hardest. Most behaviors men call personality are actually survival patterns. Smiling to avoid conflict. Nodding to seem agreeable. Telling stories that make them sound accomplished. Bending their truth to be accepted. Performance is not charisma. Performance is fear in disguise. The man who doesn't care ends the performance. Not with anger, not with rebellion. With honesty. If he doesn't want to laugh, he doesn't. If he disagrees, he says it plainly. If he isn't interested, he doesn't pretend. If something feels wrong, he walks away. He refuses to buy connection at the price of his authenticity. And this refusal creates a quiet shift inside him, a shift from being chosen to choosing. Most men chase belonging. He chooses alignment. And that difference changes everything. 2. Build a life that gives you worth from within. A man who doesn't care is not emotionally numb. He is emotionally full. His life is already rich with meaning. His days already contain purpose, direction, structure. He has a craft, a mission, an ambition that sharpens him from within. A man without purpose becomes needy. A man with purpose becomes grounded. This is why the man who doesn't care never clings. His world does not fall apart when someone pulls away. He has people, passions, challenges, and visions embedded in his life. He is not waiting for someone to save him from emptiness. His life moves without permission. People find this magnetic, without knowing why. A man moving towards something is always more attractive than a man waiting for something to happen to him. 3. Master emotional neutrality. Neutrality does not mean apathy. It means stability. Most men confuse excitement with attachment. The moment they feel something for someone, they panic. Their emotions become a storm. Their conversations become strategy. Their behavior becomes a desperate attempt to secure closeness before it disappears. The man who doesn't care does not spiral. He lets things unfold. He lets people reveal who they are. He doesn't rush intimacy. He doesn't force outcomes. Neutrality means, I want this, but I do not need it to feel whole. And Jung understood one truth. The man who can stay centered in the presence of desire becomes the most attractive man in the room. 4. Integrate. The shadow. Everything admirable about the man who doesn't care is hiding in the shadow of most men. Their anger became shame. Their boundaries became guilt. Their confidence became arrogance in someone else's eyes. Their courage became too much. Their voice became too loud. So they buried those traits. But Jung warned, what you deny becomes what controls you. The man who doesn't care reclaimed his shadow. He faced the uncomfortable parts of himself. He accepted his darker impulses instead of repressing them. He acknowledged his flaws without collapsing into them. This integration created a sense of wholeness that radiates outward as calm. People call it confidence. It is actually self-acceptance. 5. Stop negotiating your worth. This is the final shift. The moment everything changes, most men beg for their place in someone's life. They shrink their truth. They tolerate disrespect. They endure confusion. They betray themselves to avoid losing someone who barely values them. But the man who doesn't care does none of this. His worth is not a negotiation. If someone makes him feel optional, he leaves. If someone plays games, he refuses to participate. If someone offers half effort, he gives nothing. If someone pushes a boundary, he walks away quietly, not from anger. From alignment. He would rather be alone in truth than connected in self-betrayal. And this, above everything else, is what makes him unforgettable. The world respects the man who respects himself first. In the end, Jung believed the most magnetic force in human relationships is not beauty, charm, or cleverness. It is self-possession. A man who refuses to abandon himself for anyone. The man who doesn't care is not attractive because he hides his feelings, or because he plays games, or because he withholds affection. That is what imitators do. And imitators collapse the moment pressure touches them. His appeal comes from something far deeper. From having faced himself. From having survived rejection without losing identity. From having walked through shame without bending his truth. From having chosen authenticity over approval, even when it cost him something. Most people live their lives avoiding rejection. He lives his life avoiding self-betrayal. Most people bend under judgment. He stands in it. Most people shape themselves to be chosen. He chooses himself first, and the world responds to that choice. People feel calm in his presence because he has ended the war inside himself. They feel drawn to him because he mirrors a version of themselves they abandoned long ago. They remember him because he represents what they could be if they stopped caring about everything that never mattered. The most attractive men are not the ones who try the hardest. They're the ones who no longer need to try at all. If this awakens something in you, if you recognized a part of yourself rising to the surface, then stay with this path. Subscribe, not for me, but because you're ready for more truths the world was never meant to tell you.